All right. It looks like we are live for the third episode of the Long Ball Lounge Fantasy Baseball Podcast. As you know, I am your host as usual. My name is Jesse Clark. You can find me on Twitter at jcrockett24, other social media. This is streaming live on our YouTube page. You can find that at Fantasy Sports with Jesse Clark over there on YouTube. I should post the direct link, but I've sent it to a few of you. If you're not already subscribing, please click that subscribe button. That way you are alerted every time I go live. Get a notification of that. Shoot a like or comment or whatever you want on the page as well. Would greatly appreciate that. That would help me out a ton. Um, as you know, and as you can tell here on the screen, I am riding solo tonight. So don't have any guests lined up. Already have my first comment here. What's up, Michael? Yeah, I'm glad you love the Joey Votto article. I'm going to discuss that here as proof of the topic ahead. So, I don't really know how else to introduce this topic other than to say, you hear all these things in today's broadcast when you're tuning in to watch a baseball game. You see the launch angle, you see the exit velocity, you see these terms. They are what they call advanced analytics. And I want to do a little coaching session and call it StatCast sessions because it's called the StatCast data, basically, is what they've labeled it. I'd like to break this down in detail and really explain to you guys why some of this information is actually extremely helpful if you're, just from a watching baseball standpoint, but also from a fantasy baseball perspective. These stats will show you and have proven that they have correlation with other main stats that we track on a yearly basis, like runs, RBI, home runs, average on base percentage, strikeouts for pitchers, ERA. Those back of the baseball card stats are helpful to show which guys are good players and which ones aren't. But these advanced statistics will show us more information, will be more predictive year over year. They will sustain themselves. So that is why this episode, I thought it would be pretty helpful to just break these advanced analytics down, dumb it down for you guys that may not know, and kind of just make a nice little informative session here. So before I get going too far, I would be remiss if I did not bring your attention to the bottom of the screen. We do have Longball Lounge apparel, and you can see my shirt just came in the mail yesterday. So make sure you're popping on over to Teespring there. The Unwrapped page will get you all of your unwrapped gear. I would greatly appreciate you purchasing an Longball Lounge shirt if you could. If not, we do have tumblers as well for the Longball Lounge podcast. I'm going to try to share my screen real quick, see if you guys can see what I'm seeing. So you can see that nice little pretty Longball Lounge tumbler that we got over here. And that being said, let's go ahead and I know this is kind of awkward just because I'm doing my own podcast by myself for the first time and not having a guest. Hope you guys can kind of hear some of this lounge music in the background. Hopefully it will kind of fit the theme here. But let's just open it up into the first topic of the day. Traditional versus advanced stats. I kind of broke that down a little bit. Everybody knows the traditional stats in baseball, and baseball is a stat driven sport, but there are advanced stats now, and there are websites that are actually free that are very helpful in breaking down some of what we can uh, classify as predictive stats. And these will show us which guys are probably going to hit for a higher batting average, throw more strikeouts, hit more home runs, those types of things. And the stats we are using typically are, from two websites. And I will tease this here in a second. I'll let you guys know which websites I'm actually going to show them on the screen to show you guys a process of what I am looking for. So, some people say, are advanced stats just fluff? Like, why are we even talking about them? They don't really matter. Well, I'm here to tell you they do matter. They matter a lot. And I can show you instances in which I was able to kind of predict the future, if you will, for fantasy baseball purposes and really predict a good outcome for a player. Maybe a player was struggling, and I saw some underlying advanced stats that showed me that that hitter is actually just getting unlucky. Maybe he's hitting it hard right at guys. He's, missiling line drives straight to the second baseman, or he's crushing a ball in the gap, but the center fielder makes a magnificent play that is more often than not going to fall in the gap. And that's why, you kind of balance this luck versus skill thing. And the advanced analytics will show us which players are actually skillful and which ones are maybe getting lucky. And it will just show us more information than what we otherwise would have. And yeah, so this is a great example. Jeremy Seifert, my buddy up in Cleveland, is saying Ozzy Albies and Joey Votto this year. Let's do a little exercise for you guys. I will take you into a session in which I broke down Joey Votto just earlier this week. So they played the Giants in a 3-game series, and Monday morning I did this on Twitter. Let me bring this up here. I'm going to share my screen if you guys don't mind here in a bit. I'm going to try to bring up this Twitter thread that I created earlier this year or earlier this week regarding Joey Votto. And what do you know? Next thing we know, he is hitting 2 home runs. And what I predicted in this thread is that, there's a pretty good chance that, that he was going to hit for more power than he was the stats underlying were showing a power breakout surge, if you will. So that being said, here it is. Now that I finally found it, I can show you guys my screen. I apologize, as you know, it's a one-man show at the moment. So, okay. So I hope you guys can see this. What I said, I'll read it verbatim. The rumored philosophy shift of being more aggressive and sacrificing OBP on base percentage for Votto is ringing true early. Some of the indicators, and by that I mean if you're a Reds fan and you've listened to the broadcast, you have known that they have emphasized. Votto told all the reporters in the offseason, hey, he made a real emphasis on perhaps making a monumental change in his batting approach. And for those of you that don't know, he's traditionally a big high on base percentage guy, meaning he draws a lot of walks, he gets on base a lot. He's not super aggressive. He almost always watches the first pitch, kind of lets the pitcher make errors for him to get on base instead of attacking. So he made a switch this offseason that he mentioned, hey, I'm going to change things up a bit. I'm going to try to hit for more power. I'm going to try to do some of these things that all these guys are talking about, where you see the exit velocity and I want to hit the ball harder and I want to do some damage. I'm not just going up there to take a walk. So some of these metrics that I looked at, the underlying metrics showed this. He had so far, he had a 47.7% swing percentage, meaning, it is what it is. It's exactly as it seems. He's swinging 47.7% of the time that he's up to the bat, up to the plate. So they tally up all the pitches, and out of all the pitches that he's seen, he swings almost 50% of the time. Whereas in the past, his previous season high was 41.9%. That's a huge, huge jump. And I know we're dealing with a small sample size and numbers here early in the season, so don't make too much of this. It's not the be all end all. It's just helpful data that really will show us some things that maybe we don't see on the underlying stats. So next I said 7.3 zone swing percentage, meaning if the ball is in the zone, in the strike zone, he's swinging a 70. Okay, so this is supposed to say 73.3. Of course, you try to make a great point and you end up with a typo. But so it's 73.3 zone swing percentage. His previous high was 70.3, so 3% higher. That's hot. That's a lot. That's a lot of change in one season. Next, 5.1 walk percentage. BB is obviously a walk. Previous low is 12.5%. Drastic change. So we go on. I break it down further to show you guys that he actually was hitting the ball pretty hard and making good contact. He just was kind of getting unlucky and the numbers weren't showing it. So he had 0 home runs before I tweeted this on Monday. Just keep that in mind. He was batting like 200. This data shows that a max exit velocity of 113.6 miles per hour, that's a career high by far. 113 miles per hour is smoked, by the way. The highest miles per hour on the year is like 115, 116 by any player. And you're not going to get much higher than that. 113.6 is really hitting the ball hard. And that max EV, why max exit velocity is more important than just average exit velocity is because the max EV will show that the player is capable of doing that. Sometimes the average exit velocity gets skewed and it takes into consideration ground balls, which don't really help us much. If you hit a ball really hard, but it's right at the first baseman, I mean, that's not really doing damage. What you really care about is obviously the doubles, triples, home runs that is caused by this max exit velocity. And so, the traditional average exit velocity doesn't give us a whole lot of data just because we're not really caring too much about the average. We're caring about the balls that he's able to elevate, hit in the air at a high speed are most likely going to do damage. So let's move on. Hard hit percentage, 39.4%, his highest since 2016. These are all things he said he wanted to do, and he was doing early in the year, but the results were not there if you look at the surface stats. His actual batting average as of this was 162 with 0 home runs again. His expected BA, X batting average, was 291. You know what that tells us? That tells us that he was getting extremely unlucky. I would guess, just based on the amount of games that I watch of Joey Votto's, that he hits into a lot of shifts. Teams shift him heavy. They put guys in, short right field to try to take away his power because they know that he hits a lot of singles and right in that area. So my guess is that he was getting really unlucky with that batting average, and he was actually, as we see, hitting the ball very hard. So topped percentage, That means you top the ball. Obviously, if you top the ball, you're more than likely hitting a ground ball. So tops percentage 39.4, previous high is 29.7. Ground ball percentage was 48.5. Those two kind of correlate. Previous high was 44.1. So what does that tell you? If the guy is trying to hit the ball hard and elevate it and do damage as he says he is, he's not trying to top it. That is pure unluckiness. And sometimes it happens. Sometimes they just hitters go in ruts and these things happen. But he was still hitting the ball hard. He was just topping it. So he's kind of getting unlucky there. It's obviously not what he's intending to do. His barrel percentage is a 6.1%. Again, not something that he was intending to do, not something anybody's intending to do. But barrels, if you don't know what a barrel is, barrels are essentially exit velocity that goes over a certain miles per hour. So high exit velocity with also the correct amount of launch angle. So they say that the launch angle that you're supposed to hit in for, an ideal launch angle to hit home runs is probably somewhere between like the 18 to 25 range, somewhere in there, 18 to 30 range. If you're hitting it at that launch angle with the exit velocity, you're going to do a lot of damage. You're going to be hitting doubles. You're going to be hitting balls off the wall. You're going to be hitting home runs. You're going to be doing some damage. So a barrel is the perfect amount of launch angle with the high speed exit velocity. The barrels will not count unless you have both of those things together. And those things, I believe, are calculated by like Fangraphs or one of the two sites we're going to list here soon. Again, going down more, his launch angle is 11.6%, 15+% in the previous two seasons. So again, we're seeing he's topping the ball too much. He's hitting ground balls where he's not meaning to. He's still hitting the ball hard like he wanted to, but he's not elevating those balls and causing damage. And a 10.3% K percentage, which was a career best. So my conclusion here, if you see this scrolling down, what I drew from that was, listen, he's trying to hit the ball hard. He's told us he's wanting to do more damage. He's not going to be super patient up at the plate. He's going to sacrifice some of the walks for causing damage, hitting the ball. High exit velocity, high launch angle, trying to hit home runs, doubles, really cause damage. His numbers show us he is being aggressive. He's making hard contact, but he's not getting the lift he really wants to for extra base hits. He needs that for extra base hits. He also has seen an uptick in breaking and off-speed pitches as opposed to fastballs. That could also be another cause. Pitchers are attacking him differently. So, and when you're being aggressive and you're sacrificing that walk percentage for making hard contact, you're going to be forced into swinging. If you're going to be aggressive, you're going to be forced into swinging at more breaking and off-speed pitches, which could hurt your average and topped percentage, and all that stuff kind of could play into each other. But I said if he fixes the launch angle and the ground ball percentage, which he has done in his previous years as a big league hitter, watch out. Like, he could hit for some power. And what do you know? Monday night, hits a home run into the Cove in San Francisco. Tuesday night, hits an opposite field home run. So what I showed there is that these advanced statistics actually can work. They do work. If you look into it deep enough, you know what you're looking for. They can show you when a player is about to break out. Maybe he's getting bad luck, or maybe something's just happening to where, he's just making, kind of just getting unlucky. So again, this is kind of difficult to do on my own without feeding any sort of questions. So if you guys have questions, make sure you're plugging them into the chat room. I would greatly appreciate that. I would love to hear your guys' insight as to, what you think you might have a question about, and then we can kind of go from there. So that being said, I'd like to show you another example. Another example. Okay, so first of all, let's just get this out of the way. So I've mentioned a lot of these stats. Where do we get these? Two sites, mostly. They're both free: Baseball Savant and Fangraphs. Baseball Savant has more visual. Uh, they have more visuals to their site, so you can see more video. You can see more uh, pitch zones, hot, cold streak zones where hitters are hitting the ball low in the zone, high in the zone, in the middle of the zone, where they're doing their damage. You can see more data, I think. You can be more creative in having a select idea of what you want from Fangraphs, but you probably get better and more predictive data from Baseball Savant. So let's go over there, and I want to show you guys another example of another player that has kind of struggled early this season, but coming into the season, everybody thought he was going to potentially have a breakout, hot young prospect in the game, and that is Jesus Luzardo over with the Oakland Athletics. Again, stud young left-handed pitching prospect. And I'm going to go to his Baseball Savant page. Again, I'm going to share my screen so you guys can see this. Hope you can see it. Let me know if for whatever reason you are unable to see it, but here we are. Okay, so right off the bat, when you see this, you can see what his pitch distribution is for 2021. You can hit this icon, it'll take you to 2020, 2019. Obviously, more sustainable data is going to be kind of comparing year to year. So 2021, we've only had a week and a half, 2 weeks now, actually 2 weeks as of today of baseball. So there's not a whole lot of data that's going to be super predictive, and it's not going to be sustainable. So if you want to see prior years, you just go here. But that being said, where this is helpful is maybe what he's doing wrong in this year and if he's made any pitch mix changes. So he throws a fastball 68% of the time, as you see. Throws a curveball, throws a changeup, and then I think lumped in here that's not showing, he also throws a sinker. It's probably lumped into that 68% of the fastball. It's probably just being classified as a fastball, but he throws a sinker, fastball, curve, and changeup. So he struggled this year. His surface stats, as you can see, 8.31 ERA, 0-1, 13 innings pitched. He's got 15 strikeouts in that 13 innings, but he's got a 2.0 whip, which is terrible. He's pitched 3 games. Obviously, if you do the math, 3 games, 13 innings. He's not going deep into games, so he's really been hit pretty hard this season. As you can see, as I scroll up his 2021 MLB percentile rankings, blue is normally bad. Red is normally good. So his exit velocity, not very good. Max exit velocity, not very good. Barrel percentage, not very good. Chase rate, not very good. Curve spin, not very good. Whiff percentage, not very good. As you can see, he's struggled. But let's dig into maybe some of these metrics to see if we can see what his issues are. Maybe if it's, hey, we need to watch out for this guy. He's not as good as we thought. Or is it, hey, he can make 1 or 2 small adjustments and he can change quite a bit and he can be a stud like we all predicted. So this data does not look good. I broke this down. Hard hit percentage is what it is. xWOBA is how they pronounce this. 39%. It's expected weighted on base percent average, basically. And that's just a better metric for on base percentage, where it's kind of breaking down more. So it's kind of taking out so FIP is a big indicator as well. It's another advanced statistic. It stands for fielding independent pitching. So it kind of takes the luck out of it. Fielding independent pitching means if you had any fielders in the league and they were all the same, you would be a better pitcher than X person. So it kind of takes all these added unlucky variables out of the mix here. Whereas, typically every pitcher deals with different circumstances. Some pitchers have terrible defense behind them and they kind of just get unlucky. They're not bad pitchers, they're just getting unlucky. So that's what that means. Long story short, xWOBA, expected weighted on base percentage, just a metric that kind of takes out all the fluff and really gives you something that's worthwhile. xERA, expected ERA, again, takes out some of the added variables in here. X slugging percentage. You guys know what slugging percentage is. Barrel percentage, we just broke that down. Walk percentage. So a big thing with pitchers is K minus walk percentage is huge. I almost care about that more than I do ERA, strikeouts. Those things are all well and good, but those don't tell us who are actually good pitchers and who are not. That has a lot of luck involved and just a lot of metrics that we don't know are predictive. What I do care about is, are you striking guys out? Are you not walking very many guys? That stat alone is very simple for a lot of people to understand, but it's not a stat that you see on the back of baseball cards. I think it should, because that's a very good indicator of a good pitcher. So that being said, things like that are what we're going to start breaking down here. So if you go down, scroll down, we saw his numbers were pretty terrible. But if you go down here, okay, so now we see his pitch mix. Four-seam fastball 61.4% of the time, sinker 6.6% of the time, changeup 12.7%, curveball 19.3%. Now, if you look down here, we can kind of see his numbers, hard hit, all the numbers that we just saw. But if you scroll down further, you can see a graph here that shows you in 2020, Luzardo was only throwing his fastball four-seamer 32.7% of the time. This year, he's throwing it 62.1% of the time. That might raise some eyebrows here. Let's look into this. His sinker usage down from 20% to 6%. That's it, guys. I think that's what is giving him issues. I think his pitch mix is he's throwing way too many fastballs. And when you're throwing over 60% of your pitches are fastballs and you're peppering the zone, it's going to get hit hard. Major leaguers know how to hit a fastball, guys. And what I also want to pay attention to here is, if you think about it, four-seamer normally is best when it's rising. It's got vertical movement to it. A sinker does the opposite. It sinks. Changeup, again, sinks. What's unique about those three pitches? When it comes out of his hand, the first probably 10 feet of it coming out of his hand, those all look like the same pitch. No hitter in the world is going to be able to differentiate and distinguish between those three pitches until it gets closer to the plate. So when it comes out of his hand, all three of the pitches look the exact same. But when you have the sinker and slider going down, the sinker being the same speed as the fastball, but it goes down and the fastball goes up. Good luck hitting that. 96 miles an hour this guy's throwing. Good luck. Or 95. Sorry, I'm giving him a little too much credit. Changeup drops to what? 87 miles per hour. So he's dropping 8 miles per hour between the two. Good luck. All those pitches looking the exact same. Two go down, one goes up. Two are the same speed, one is different speed. If I had the tools to show you an overlay, I would show you how impossible that is to hit. So to me, I'm seeing right off the bat, if he just changes his pitch mix back to what it was before, go back to this, 35, 40% fastball, tick up the changeup instead of 12.9, go up to more close to 24, what it was last year. Sinker, take that bad boy up instead of 6%. Take it up closer to 20. Then we can start getting some, we can start improving this hard hit rate. and this damage that these hitters are doing to Luzardo. Now, let's go down last but not least. This is very, very important. Oftentimes with this data, you guys, we can tell, and I'm not kidding you, we can predict sometimes when pitchers are pitching injured. They're hurt, but they're not getting taken out of the game. They're not telling their coach they're hurt, but they're hurt. Trust me. Something is going on behind, behind the scenes that we don't know about. And we can normally tell that with this. Look at this right here. Miles per hour. Sounds silly, but it's true. So last year, he threw the sinker 95.4 miles per hour. This year, he's throwing at 95.5. Four-seamer, 95 even. Last year, it was 95.5, so a tick down, not much to be concerned about. Curveball, 84 this year. Last year, 84. Changeup, 86.7. Last year, 87.4. So a little bit of a tick down. Not much to be concerned about. When you go lower than like a mile per hour, then there's something to be concerned about. If you start seeing that, then instead of that pitch mix that we talked about, it's probably the velocity that's giving these guys the issue. And they might be hurt or something's going on. Maybe they're not warmed up yet. It's early in the season. Maybe they haven't been stretched out enough. Something's going on to where they're not feeling great. We saw that firsthand with the Redlegs with Luis Castillo. Opening day, it was super cold outside. He was not throwing hard. He normally gets it up to about 97, 98 miles per hour. He was throwing about 95, 96 at the highest point. At the lowest point, about 93, 94. And when you throw it in the zone like that and you're pretty predictable, guys are going to crush you. So, that being said, wanted to give you guys another example, because if you don't have examples, you don't really tend to buy in, at least from my perspective and experience. Normally if somebody's telling you something, if a coach is trying to coach you something, but they don't have the good track record to show for it, you're probably not going to listen. So that being said, I want to show you guys some pretty cool other things that Baseball Savant will show us, advanced statistics. If you go to the game feed at the top, this will show you all data from today's action. Franmil Reyes, Alex Jackson, Christian Arroyo, Mikel Franco, Yerman Mercedes. Those are the top exit velocity guys. Top distances. Mitch Haniger a couple times. You see Emmanuel Clase. Man, oh man, he was bringing it today for the Indians, closing out the game against the White Sox. 5 pitches here at least where he threw over 100 miles an hour. Ian Anderson, swings and misses. A lot of them today for the Braves. Michael Pineda, 15. Trevor Rogers, 14. Let's break down some of these guys' stats on how they actually pitched today. Maybe. Well, that's not giving me much. Let's see what Michael Pineda did, since the Ian Anderson thing's not giving me what I want. Michael Pineda. Oh, imagine that. He had 15 swings and misses through 7 innings, 6 Ks, 0 earned runs. Swings and misses are important, guys. Anybody that tells you otherwise doesn't know baseball. Pitching to contact is not a thing anymore. There are very few pitchers out there that are good at doing that. You have your Kyle Hendricks, your Dallas Keuchel, Mike Soroka. Other guys like that, few and far between in today's MLB. What we care about are swings and misses. You want to know why? Name me the last time that somebody hit a home run when they missed the ball. You can't hit it over the fence if you're not hitting the ball. So how do you avoid that? You throw high strikeout stuff. So swings and misses are extremely important. No matter what you hear on the broadcast on national television, trust me, in today's day and age, swings and misses are everything. What we care about are swings and misses, the K to walk percentage, like I said earlier, swinging strike rate, meaning the percentage of time that somebody swings and it's a strike. Chase percentage, getting hitters to the percentage of time that you can get hitters to chase outside of the zone. Why is that important? Obviously, if you're pitching outside of the zone and it seems like it's inside the zone, but it's breaking outside of the zone, and you got a guy swinging at those pitches, he's more than likely probably not going to be doing damage on pitches outside the zone like that. So chase percentage, huge for pitchers. So that kind of just shows you what Baseball Savant does on a nightly basis. You can kind of see things like that. Also, if I go to an individual game, I can see Miami versus the Braves, 7-6 ball game. I believe it was a walk-off hit by Dansby Swanson. You can see in this singular game, exit velocity, Alex Jackson had the hardest hit ball of the day. Just for grins here, let's see what that ball was. Oh, that was an out. See, that's where, some of this stuff he got unlucky. You can kind of see, as we broke down earlier, top distances, miles per hour. You can see that on a nightly basis. You can see pitchers, how often they threw the four seam, sinker, cutter, splitter, changeup, slider, curve, hard hit percentage, barrels. All these things are broken down on an individual game basis. Really cool. Here's the last thing I want to show you guys on Baseball Savant. Leaderboards. If you go to the leaderboards, it's automatically probably going to take you to the barrels per plate appearances. That's obviously important because, as we discussed earlier, barrels are the best way to hit home runs, basically. When you hit that sweet spot, it's sweet spot of the bat, hard hit, launch angle, perfect for causing damage, doubles, triples, home runs. As you can see, if you hit the leaderboards, it'll automatically default to the exit velocity and barrels. But you can also select expected statistics, swing and take. So what are the important elements of pitching and hitting? For pitchers, it's striking guys out, not walking guys, limiting hard contact, allowing your hitters or your fielders to make the play on the ball, not, giving up doubles in the gaps and home runs and things that have, your fielders really have no control over. Maybe inducing ground balls is important because ground balls are more often than not outs. Now, obviously, you don't want to be popping up everything, but, ground balls are outs more than fly balls are. So when they're not just pop-ups. What else do we care about from a pitcher perspective? F strike. You'll see that first pitch strike. Why is that important? You want to get ahead of hitters. You don't want to start off every count 1-0 because then you start having to force, fastballs in hitter counts. And when they know a fastball is coming and you have to throw a strike, what's going to happen? More often than not, hitter's going to make you pay. So those are the things that we're looking at and the things that we're digging into. So from a hitter's perspective, what's important? Hitting the ball in the air is more important than people think. We're talking exit velocity, hitting it hard, hitting it barrels on the sweet spot. Sweet spot percentage is actually a stat here. Contact percentage. We want our hitters to make contact. We don't want them striking out. Those are the important things for hitters. So these are the important things I'm looking for. When I'm digging into stats and I'm seeing, okay, why is this guy slumping right now? Is it luck? Is it him actually making mistakes? What is it? And these advanced statistics will more often than not show us the answers that we need. So as you see here, Shohei Ohtani, Ronald Acuna, big surprise. Who are the hottest hitters in the league? Oh, they're the ones that are hitting the ball hard. Imagine that. They're the ones barreling balls. They're the ones hitting it hard. 61% hard hit rate for Ronald Acuna right now. The guy is on flames. All these things mean something. Even if Ronald Acuna was batting 200, this is the important stuff right here. In fact, if he was batting 200, you would know a big breakout's coming soon, because a guy's not going to be doing this much damage and not finding, and the balls are not going to be finding gaps. It doesn't happen too often. So you know when you're digging into players that might be on slumps, look at this. Some guys we're not thinking of right now. Rafael Devers, he's kind of heated up of late, but he's not hitting great. Let's look at him. I don't think he's hitting great. Let's look at his data here. Okay, so I guess he is doing okay. He's got 5 home runs, 255 average though. That's not great. That's not what we're looking for. Let's go back to another player here. That's Avisel Garcia. He was at the top of our list, 5th, up with names like JD Martinez, Judge, all these other things. Guy has 2 home runs, batting 244, 295 OBP. Not great, but he's crushing the ball right now. So what does that tell us? Look at this. 91st percentile, 90th percentile, 94th percentile, 93 percentile, 88 percentile hard hit. All these things show us that he's actually hitting the ball very hard. He's just getting unlucky, or he's not elevating the ball, which I know he's not because I've looked recently. He's a not a very good launch angle guy. As you can kind of see here, he's only got a 7.9 launch angle. What did we talk about earlier? It's got to be between that kind of 15 to 25 range is kind of the sweet spot. So all of these things will tell us that these hitters are doing well or they're not doing well. So that being said, I'll kind of briefly show you some things on Split's leaderboard. I feel like this is going to have to be another podcast here soon that I break down in even further detail to kind of give you guys the real scoop on what's going on here. So that being said, let me show you this really quick, and then we can get out of here. Things on Fangraphs, they have a ton of ads, so just wanted to kind of forewarn you. But they have leaderboards as well. They just call it Splits leaderboards, whatever. You can click on that. It's not the fastest website. That's kind of another reason why I like Savant better. But they break it down. You can see, okay, how's a team hitting against right-handed pitchers this year? Let's go to teams. So right now, the most home runs in the year against right-handed pitching, Detroit Tigers, followed by Cincinnati Reds. So you can kind of see, the regular data and then advanced data.